Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. A man who values himself does not chase. A man who respects himself does not beg for attention. If she ignores you, if she makes you feel invisible, then brother, that's your answer right there. Stop chasing what doesn't want to be caught. You see, life is too short to waste on people who don't see your worth. A man with purpose, a man with a vision, he ain't got time to sit around waiting for a reply. He's too busy building, too busy growing, too busy becoming the best version of himself. A man who values himself does not chase after someone who doesn't appreciate him. If she ignores you, respect yourself enough to walk away. This is a principle rooted in self-worth, confidence, and an understanding of what it truly means to be a man of value. Too often, men find themselves caught in the trap of seeking validation from those who do not reciprocate their energy. They pour effort, time, and emotions into a person who barely acknowledges their existence. This is not strength. This is a form of self-neglect. And the first rule of life is simple. Never neglect yourself for the sake of someone else's approval. When you text a woman who constantly ignores you, you send a message, not just to her, but to yourself, that your time and energy are not valuable. You communicate that you are willing to lower your standards, to accept being a second thought, just to get a few moments of her attention. But a man of true self-respect does not operate this way. He does not beg for affection. He does not plead for recognition. He understands that his worth is not determined by how someone else treats him, but by how he treats himself. A woman who ignores you is giving you a silent answer. She's showing you that she does not prioritize you, that she does not see you as someone worthy of her time. And that's okay, because not everyone will see your value. Not everyone will appreciate your presence. But the problem is not that she ignores you. The problem is that you continue to chase. You continue to text. You continue to hope that one day she will change her mind. But here's the harsh truth. If she truly wanted you, she would not ignore you. If she truly cared, you wouldn't have to fight for her attention. Self-respect is about knowing when to walk away. It's about recognizing that your energy should be spent on people who appreciate you, not on those who treat you as an afterthought. Imagine a man standing at a door, knocking repeatedly while the person inside refuses to open it. How long should he keep knocking before he realizes that he is not welcome? A wise man knocks once, maybe twice. If there's no response, he moves on. He does not stand there all night, hoping, pleading, waiting for someone to notice him, because he understands that his time is better spent elsewhere. The world does not respect men who do not respect themselves. If you make it a habit to chase people who ignore you, you condition yourself to accept less than you deserve. You weaken your confidence, you damage your self-position, you build a mindset of scarcity, believing that if you don't chase, you'll be alone. But the truth is, when you stop chasing, you create space for the right people to enter your life. People who will value your presence, people who will appreciate your time. Think about the men you admire, leaders, visionaries, men who command respect. Do you see them? Do you see them begging for attention? No. Because they operate with a sense of self-worth so powerful that they naturally attract the right people into their lives. And this is the mindset you must adopt. A man who respects himself walks away from situations that do not serve him. He does not argue. He does not beg. He simply leaves. Not out of anger, not out of resentment, but out of a deep understanding that his time is too valuable to be wasted on someone who does not see his worth. Walking away is not about playing games or making someone miss you. It's about setting a standard for yourself. It's about telling yourself, I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of appreciation. And if someone does not see that, I will not lower myself to convince them. This is the mindset that separates men who are truly respected from those who are constantly seeking validation. It takes strength to walk away. It takes discipline to resist the urge to send another message, to wait for a response, to hold on to hope that maybe, just maybe, she will come around. But strength is built through discipline. And every time you choose yourself over someone who ignores you, you reinforce that discipline. You reinforce your self-worth. Now, understand this. Walking away does not mean you are bitter. It does not mean you hate her or hold resentment. It simply means you accept reality. You accept that not everyone will reciprocate your energy, and that's perfectly fine. Your job is not to force someone to see your worth. Your job is to be so focused on your own growth, your own purpose, that you don't even notice when someone doesn't respond. Self-respect is about recognizing that the right people, the people who truly belong in your life, will never make you feel ignored. They will never leave you questioning your worth. And the only way to find those people is by refusing to settle for anything less. So the next time you feel the urge to text a woman who ignores you, pause. Ask yourself, is this how a man of value operates? Is this how someone who respects himself behaves? And if the answer is no, then step away. Redirect that energy towards something that elevates you, your goals, your passions, your personal growth. A man who respects himself never has to beg for attention. He carries himself with a presence so strong that the right people naturally gravitate toward him. And that is the ultimate power. Being so focused on your own greatness that you never have to chase what's not meant for you. A man who understands his purpose in life does not waste time chasing after someone who ignores him. His focus is not on whether or not she replies to his texts. His focus is on his mission, his growth, and his future. The truth is, when you are deeply committed to your purpose, you don't even have time to notice who isn't responding. You are too busy becoming the best version of yourself. The problem most men face today is that they place too much importance on someone else's validation rather than their own self-improvement. They get caught up in waiting for a reply, checking their phone, overanalyzing messages, and hoping for attention from someone who has already shown they are not interested. But a man with a vision, a man with goals, he does not operate this way. He does not chase distractions, he chases greatness. When you pour your energy into chasing after someone who is not invested in you, you are diverting that energy from something far more important, your personal growth. Every text you send, every moment you spend thinking about her, every time you check your phone hoping she will reply, is time that could be spent improving yourself. Time that could be used to develop new skills, build your business, work on your fitness, or create something meaningful. But instead, that time is wasted on someone who isn't even thinking about you. That is a losing mindset. That is a mindset that keeps you stuck in the same place, constantly seeking validation rather than becoming the kind of man who naturally commands respect. The most powerful men in history, the ones who built empires, who changed the world, who left behind legacies, were not sitting around worrying about who texted them back. They were too focused on their purpose. Think about someone like Michael Jordan. You think he was sitting by his phone waiting for someone to reply to his messages? No. He was in the gym, perfecting his craft, becoming one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Think about Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, or any other visionary leader. These men were too busy building something greater than themselves to be distracted by people who didn't value them. And that is the mentality every man should have. When you shift your focus from seeking attention to seeking growth, everything in your life changes. You begin to operate with a level of confidence that is unshakable, because your sense of self-worth no longer depends on external validation. You stop caring about who ignores you because you are too locked in on your own journey. You become a man who is driven, disciplined, and unstoppable. And here's the irony: the moment you stop chasing, The moment you start focusing on yourself, that's when people start noticing you. That's when women become interested. That's when the people who once ignored you suddenly want to be part of your life. But by then you won't even care, because you will be so consumed with your purpose that their attention won't even matter anymore. You will have outgrown the need for validation, because your sense of fulfillment will come from within. You will understand that true success is not measured by how many people respond to your texts, but by how much progress you make toward your goals. The biggest mistake men make is thinking that if they just try harder, if they just send one more message, if they just wait a little longer, maybe she will finally notice them. But that is not how respect is earned. Respect is not given to those who beg for it. It is given to those who demand it through their action. A man who is on his purpose, who is constantly improving, who is striving for greatness, he does not have to chase. He does not have to beg for attention. He naturally attracts the right people into his life. Women are not drawn to men who seek validation. They are drawn to men who have something going for themselves. A man who is too busy building his future to be concerned with who is texting him back is infinitely more attractive than a man who is desperate for attention. This is because confidence comes from purpose, and purpose-driven men exude confidence effortlessly. They walk differently. They talk differently. They carry themselves with an energy that commands respect. And that kind of energy cannot be faked. It is built through discipline, through hard work, through dedication to something greater than themselves. Every time you choose to prioritize your goals over a meaningless text conversation, you reinforce your self-worth. You remind yourself that your time is valuable, that your energy should be spent on things that actually matter. You begin to develop an unbreakable mindset, one that refuses to settle for mediocrity, one that refuses to waste time on people who do not see your worth. This is how you separate yourself from the average man. The average man spends his days chasing, waiting, hoping for someone to notice him. The exceptional man spends his days grinding, improving, and becoming the kind of person who does not need to seek attention, because attention naturally finds him. The world does not reward men who waste their potential. It rewards men who step into their power, who embrace their mission, who refuse to be distracted by things that do not serve them. If you truly want to be successful, if you truly want to become the best version of yourself, you have to stop wasting time on people who do not invest in you. You have to redirect that energy towards something meaningful, something that will actually contribute to your future. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for a text, remind yourself of this. Every moment you spend waiting is a moment you could be using to better yourself. Every second you spend chasing is a second you could be using to build something incredible. The choice is yours. You can either continue to seek validation from someone who clearly does not value you, or you can step into your purpose, focus on your growth, and become the kind of man who does not need to chase, because success, respect, and the right people naturally come to him. Rejection is not the end. It is a form of redirection. When someone ignores you, when they do not acknowledge your effort, it is not a reflection of your worth. It is a sign that you are meant to focus your energy elsewhere. Too often, people take rejection personally, as if it means they are not good enough, not interesting enough, not worthy enough. But that is the wrong way to look at it. The truth is, rejection is simply life's way of steering you towards something better, something that aligns with your purpose, your growth, and your true value. The problem is that many people refuse to accept this redirection. They keep knocking on the same closed door, hoping that one day it will magically open. They keep sending messages to someone who has already made it clear they are not interested. They refuse to move on because they have convinced themselves that if they just try harder, if they just wait a little longer, things will change. But life does not work that way. When someone does not reciprocate your effort, when someone ignores you, The answer is already there. You just have to be willing to accept it. One of the greatest mistakes a person can make is fighting for something that is not meant for them. It is a waste of time, energy, and emotional strength. Imagine standing at a train station waiting for a train that has already left. No matter how long you wait, no matter how much you hope, that train is not coming back. The only logical thing to do is look for the next train, the next opportunity, the next direction that life is presenting to you. But if you refuse to move, if you stand there in denial, you will miss out on all the other opportunities that are waiting for you. Many people do not realize how much power they give away when they chase after someone who has already rejected them. They lower their standards. They sacrifice their self-respect. They start to believe that they are not good enough. But the moment you accept rejection as redirection, everything changes. You no longer see it as a loss, you see it as a blessing. You begin to understand that if someone does not see your value, it is not your job to convince them. Your job is to focus on yourself, on your growth, and on the people who actually appreciate your presence. Some of the most successful people in history faced rejection after rejection, but they did not let it break them. They used it as motivation. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, but instead of giving up, he worked harder than ever and became one of the greatest players of all time. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he built, but instead of letting it defeat him, he used that setback as an opportunity to create something even greater. These men understood that rejection is not a stop sign, it is a detour toward something better. The same principle applies to relationships and personal connections. When someone does not acknowledge your effort, when they do not appreciate what you bring to the table, it is not a sign that you should try harder. It is a sign that you should walk away. It is a sign that you are wasting your energy in the wrong place. The moment you stop fighting for attention, the moment you accept that not everyone is meant to be part of your journey, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and disappointment. Think about the times in your life when something did not work out the way you wanted it to, only for you to later realize that it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe you wanted a certain job, but you didn't get it, only to later find a better opportunity. Maybe you wanted to be with a certain person, but they ignored you, only to later meet someone who truly valued you. Life has a way of guiding us toward what is best for us, but we have to be willing to trust the process. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with rejection is because they tie their self-worth to external validation. They believe that if someone ignores them, it must mean they are not good enough. But that is not true. Your worth is not determined by who acknowledges you. It is determined by who you are as a person, by the way you carry yourself, by the effort you put into becoming the best version of yourself. A person who understands their value does not chase after those who do not appreciate them. They do not beg for attention. They simply continue to focus on their own path, knowing that the right people will recognize their worth without needing to be convinced. It takes strength to walk away. It takes confidence to accept rejection without letting it damage your self-esteem. But once you develop this mindset, you become unstoppable. You no longer waste time trying to prove yourself to the wrong people. You no longer seek validation from those who do not value you. Instead, you focus on your purpose, your goals, and your own self-improvement. And ironically, when you stop chasing, when you fully embrace your worth, that is when the right people start gravitating toward you. Life has a way of removing the things that are not meant for us so that we can make room for what truly belongs to us. But if we keep holding on to what is not working, if we keep chasing after people who do not care, we block ourselves from receiving the blessings that are meant for us. Every rejection is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to move in the direction of something better. The sooner you accept this truth, the sooner you will find peace. So do not see rejection as a failure, see it as a lesson. as guidance, as redirection. Trust that when something does not work out, it is because something better is waiting for you. Keep your focus on your growth, your purpose, and your future. Because when you do that, rejection will no longer feel like a loss. It will feel like the necessary step towards something greater. A man who truly values himself does not beg for attention. He does not lower his standards just to be noticed. He walks with confidence, knowing that his worth is not determined by whether someone acknowledges him or not. A king does not plead for recognition. He commands respect simply by the way he carries himself. Yet too many men find themselves chasing, waiting, and hoping that someone will see their value. They spend time texting, calling, and proving their worth to someone who has already made it clear that they are not a priority. But a man who respects himself does not chase. He does not need to be validated by someone who does not see his worth. Instead, he focuses on his own growth, his own purpose, and his own path. Confidence is not about arrogance. It is about knowing who you are and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. When a man operates from a place of self-respect, he does not beg for attention. He does not wait around for someone to recognize his value. And he certainly does not lower himself to chase someone who ignores him. Instead, he lets his actions, his mindset, and his presence speak for him. The problem arises when men allow their self-worth to be dictated by how someone else treats them. They start to believe that if a woman ignores them, it must mean they are not good enough. But that is not true. Her response or lack of response does not determine your value. The way you carry yourself does. A man who carries himself with self-respect will always be more attractive than a man who chases. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, people take notice. They see that you are not desperate for attention, that you do not need validation to feel worthy. And that is where true confidence comes from. The moment you stop seeking approval from others, you become more powerful. You become the kind of man who does not need to explain his worth. His presence alone makes it clear. Many men struggle with this because they believe that persistence will eventually win someone over. They think that if they just try harder, if they just send one more message, if they just prove themselves, they will finally be noticed. But that is not how attraction works. Women are not drawn to men who beg for their attention. They are drawn to men who are secure in themselves. A man who respects himself does not need to prove anything. He knows he is valuable, and that confidence alone sets him apart. A king does not chase. He does not beg. He does not plead. He simply is. His presence, his actions, and his discipline command respect, and that is the mentality every man should have. If someone does not appreciate your time, your effort, or your presence, you do not force them to see your worth. You walk away with dignity. You focus on your goals, your ambitions, and your own self-improvement. Because the truth is, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop trying to be noticed, that is when people start paying attention. The irony of life is that the less you seek validation, the more it comes to you. When you are constantly trying to get someone's attention, you appear desperate, and desperation is unattractive. But when you focus on yourself, when you prioritize your own growth, when you carry yourself with quiet confidence, people naturally gravitate toward you. They see that you are different. They see that you are not like the rest, and that makes you stand out. A king does not concern himself with who is ignoring him. He does not sit around waiting for a response. He is too busy ruling his world, building his legacy, and living with purpose. And that is exactly what you should be doing. Every time you catch yourself waiting for someone to notice you, remind yourself that your time is too valuable for that. Redirect that energy into something productive. Focus on your health, your business, your passion, your personal development, because the more you invest in yourself, the more powerful you become. Think about the most successful men in the world. Do you think they spend their time chasing people who do not appreciate them? No, they are too focused on their mission, too locked in on their goals. They do not have time to waste on people who do not see their worth. And that is why they are respected. That is why people want to be around them, because they carry themselves with an energy that demands respect without ever having to ask for it. The biggest mistake a man can make is giving his power away. When you beg for attention, when you chase after someone who ignores you, you give away your power. You tell yourself that their validation is more important than your own. But a man who respects himself never gives away his power like that. He understands that his value is determined by his actions, his mindset, and his presence, not by whether or not someone texts him back. It takes discipline to operate this way. It takes strength to walk away from people who do not see your worth. But once you develop this mindset, everything changes. You no longer waste time seeking approval. You no longer allow your confidence to be shaken by someone else's opinion. You become unshakable. You become the kind of man who is respected, admired, and valued, not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can either continue to seek validation from those who do not appreciate you, or you can step into your power, focus on your own journey, and let your presence speak for itself. A man who respects himself does not need to beg to be noticed. He is too busy building his empire to care about who is watching. And that is the kind of man who truly commands respect.